Right, as I've talked about, that I'll be getting off the internet, these channels. Will be shut down to a certain neutral state kind of thing. I'll leave certain things up there. All the study will just appear. All these things. I wanted to know if I can connect to anybody with the study. If people are studying on me. All these things, as I try to restart my life, certain things happen. Now, I wanted to restart my life and check out spiritual for once. As I've talked about before, I'm pretty much an atheist that believes in science, likes to learn, and my natural instinct is to be more loving and to do things more fair and honest than to not, as I don't like the feelings when I don't do those type of things that I know that I could do right? And we pick and choose. Sometimes we already have our self-feelings when it comes to that, right? Or we learn it. And so I just want to quickly talk about what I've done recently, why I've done it, and what I believe I've worked out, which I've talked about already before, and why I'm stopping and why I'm just going to do certain things as we do what we do to make ourselves feel good and understand the universe, right? Until we can understand better. So I've talked about tarot readers, a lot of spiritual things, pick and choose, as I talked about, we pick and choose of where we connect, what we believe works best for us, and the group around us of where we connect. And so I've picked a few different things. I've been talking about all sorts of spiritual things in certain areas, which I'll leave up in certain little spots so you would understand this group into the future when things change, as things change all the time in time. And so when it comes to spiritual and me wasting time, see, when I first started, here's another, it's like, how do you get something out? When I first started, I believed that spiritual was fake, right? And I wanted to know if it was before I ever tried to get rid of my life, because I was thinking of those thoughts. And what's the life really for? What are we here for? Ourselves? Are we meant to have a bit of ourselves, a little bit of connection or more of ourselves? And if it's just ourselves and you use science, so I got confused, then it's a balance that doesn't work, and I don't like to be a bad virus, right? And so I tried to figure out where I fit as I feel and was born to feel as well, right? And so, because I always wonder why I'm so nice. There's some things I go, why can't I stop and just do what they did? Why do I have this problem? Why can't I read? Why am I struggling with this? And we need to get answers, and our brain goes beep, 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 beep. And sometimes we can get answers from things around us, or we use our common sense of what we've learned already to try to figure out those answers, which is a lot of theories and stuff like that. And then we use what we know is real, which is what we usually class as science, an outcome to try to work out another outcome that's coming, another answer. Every time you figure out something, there's always another answer to be solved, right? And that's life. Otherwise, it'll get boring in certain areas. Or you enjoy yourself. If you're enjoying yourself, that's cool. That's what you're meant to get to. Enjoy yourself, but eventually some things change around you or yourself. Definitely when you upgrade, like they say, an adult thinks differently than a child because of what? Things they've been through, education they have, stuff like that. And so what I've really done is I've moved some more of my ornaments around to help make my feel. Oh, just before I leave, I was going to talk about movies and not wasting time. And so when I got into this area, I was expecting to just figure it out and make movies. Talk about it, make movies, like I keep saying, and I'm working it out and go, well, if it's not true, at least I can make a script out of it, a conversation, this, and that, right? And try to work out things and at least have something so I can keep going, not waste your time too much, right? And that's why I went in different areas, tried different areas. That way, if I need to get money or something like that while I'm still going, like doing art and stuff like that, I'd be able to do that. in the same progress of doing what I'm doing as I'm studying. Right? Now, for some people go work at a cashier's job or some job so they can pay for study. Right? So what do you got to do when you've got cystic fibrosis? You can't do much in your job. Right? You also hit that part of life, you're trying to heal, but then the society tells you, oh, these are the jobs, these the things that you actually want to die from. Right? What can you do? Right? Lucky for me, I'm a lucky person. For me, I probably would have killed myself maybe if I didn't have cystic fibrosis or certain things that end up helping me be able to be off the system and not be struggling so much. But it hasn't helped that much. Even with all that, I still get just as much cut off problems, answering myself problems, a waste of time problems. Anyway, right, where you've got to go do these things to live because we're all the same. So when it comes to disability, usually we all get treated the same. Disability doesn't technically help. Depends on what country. Right? As I've talked about my disability, told areas that are there to help me, and they can't help me in that field, right? Unless I do it myself. And the only way to do it myself was when it comes to time out, was to be sick. Right? And I was sick a lot, so you get a time out. But when I was too sick, I couldn't do anything. Right? So there was this little spot there. And then when I'm not sick, I was working or looking for work and using a lot of time in that area to try to finance myself. Right? And so the best way to do things is try to make movies too, because I already talked to my job network provider a little while ago, which I did a few videos about, trying to see where a cystic fibrosis person can fit when you're a person that's like that and you can't have a full-time job, right? Because your health is like that. Right? And what can you do when your health's like that? Well, I've explained certain things. When my health's up, I can dance, I can get out more, I can do that kind of stuff. When it's halfway down, I can be like administrator, I can still talk, I can do this to the minimum, right? It's not hard work. When I'm down, I can't do much at all, except try to breathe, live, eat, survive. Right? And it goes up and down like that. And so what I've done is I've talked about movies. So I'm going to talk about a movie now, right, where if there was either magic, right, because I put it in both areas, or is it prayers, or is it in between both and they get mixed and it's a battle because magic could be like negative and prayers are like positive. Happens more naturally in a natural way to get the magic, and the negative has to practice, skill, and do certain steps to get the magic. Right? Which is the stories of witches and warlocks and stuff like that. Right? And then you've got the stories of Catholics and prayers and angels. Right? And I believe they're separated, but they're between each other. Same with aliens and all this connection. When you're into spiritual and spiritual battles happen, usually you connect the spirituals to the universe and spread out more. It's connected with aliens as well. Higher beings can come like an angel get into a human. They can get into other higher beings from other planets to help each other, as we've had those stories. So you can imagine that. And when you do that, you actually can fit in aliens as well and why they arrive at certain times. In biblical stories. Right? Doesn't mean that aliens are around, doesn't mean there's nothing spiritual. Right? It can still be there. Right? So when it comes to the newest Clark, I showed the last Clark how it's set up and what happens if we do this, this, and this, and this, because I'm now doing, instead of making an art sculpture permanently, I'm trying to do a little bit like when magic does, how they do an altar and a ceremony, and they do it sort of quickly, and they set up a couple of tools, like when they do a potion, right? I'm doing that in my own way of a prayer, right? And I've set up these things. And I'm not doing any other things, and all I'm doing is just use my own self-thoughts. What I put there, sending out what I talk about, because when you send out, which is what I'm doing now, video and putting up on YouTube, it can create an outcome. Like when you be nice to someone, they might automatically do something. It's part of the prayer. Right? So if I did this and say, which one, and got upset and did something else, but it counteracts, she didn't get it right, and then she ends up attacking herself, well, that's a prayer, right? Or a warlock or something like that. Or it's an outcome, or someone good sees it, and a good witch sees it and helps me on that prayer. But I don't actually do the witchery when it comes to that help, and it might even help the good witch, right? As it's mixed in with a prayer, like trying to mix them together. It's another whole thing. You'd have to be demonstrated best in a movie when it comes to these theories, which is what I talk about. And they can get quite complicated in certain areas to get the little details. Otherwise, it's just like, oh, yes, it looks good. But to get a good movie to be realistic with science, that can help open up the minds as well, right? Which is what we have out there. And then we just have entertainment movies, right, all the time. And so I want to explain right now as well. So hopefully I'll just explain why I've done all the study, my opinions, feelings, going through my life, then attacks. As I've gone through this too, not long after I started, I had people attacking what I do and being by myself. So I fit when it comes to stories, I've talked about the Bible. I started looking at that because I've heard things and I'm like, well, shit, I fit into that area. I'm understanding that area of what they're doing this and that. And I've only just started. As we get older, we'll get more clarity, which is why I talked about perhaps I'll write a book later. But first I've got to get off script when I get more into it. But I've just got to get out a little bit where other people can go, well, at least it's sound when you do science, you talk to other scientists, they might even be able to go check it out themselves, but you're meant to technically work together when it comes to those areas instead of battling an area. Definitely if it's for all of us, it doesn't make sense to make business out of it, right, and battle, because business becomes battle, right? So spiritual is separated from business, right? And science is more business too, based, because people do science to fry better and to understand, which helps you fry better. And so on. But anyway, I'm going to get into talking about what I've just set up. So I've showed you a preview setup. Talked about that piece there. Now I'm experimenting myself on miracles, prayers like that. And I've never asked for anything. Like, you know, when people die, you go, I wish they didn't die and all these type of things. But I've never really asked for a basic small miracle. Never really seen one. Like I said, I've won things like a car before. But it was in New Zealand because it was in a car magazine. Right? And I couldn't get it declared for it because I wasn't a New Zealander or knew anyone. And ended up putting it in the drawer and it disappeared. I wonder who got it and got the car, right? It could easily happen. But it sucks that they sold a New Zealand book here. The car magazine with both prices on it. We used to have New Zealand price and Australian price. Competitions in it when I couldn't win. Right? And I seem to have luck, but then no luck when it comes to my life. And when it comes to prayers, they don't always seem to turn out. So far in my life, lots of people get it good. You could say it's luck. My luck's not that good. It's like it's sort of there, but it's not, kind of thing. Or it goes for someone else. And so what I've done is I've set up this now. And I've used some of my art pieces. So I'm using art now so I use now art to help make my life. Right, and represent my life and how I feel to get me through. Might change a little bit later on. But first I was building. I like to get something on my mind. I'm good with my hands. Handbags. And I wanted to do something that makes you feel good for yourself, which is making your own self-product. Usually. Like to give it away or for yourself. And you can get two birds, one stone. You can relax. You can sit there and do nothing, or you can relax in another way and do something, right, which is not wasting anything. And that's what I do. And then you can represent yourself and also create your own new feeling as people look at it and go, oh, that's cool. It makes you feel better and so on. Right? To find out that you're heading the right way as well to the people that you like by representing yourself and talking about it. And so what I've done is a quick setup. Right? As I talked about little altars, my stuff's not big. It's all beginning, right? And it gets me going. I could stop it and then do it better later on if you had to stop and go get work so you can go to college again and stuff like that, right? Which is why I record it. If anything happens in life, which it does, I can easily go back and refresh my mind of where I was up to, right, to restart myself. And so this setup here is a little bit leftovers of the piece of me removing from the fireman piece, right? Which is connected, if you want to firemen. No, I've talked about certain things, but it's also mainly when I do my things, it's mainly about me and the connection to things. And the two things can have a story if they're connected to me when it comes to these areas. So the fireman piece could be connected when it comes to connecting to what I want to be and help out when it comes to the fireman or fire situations in all sorts of fields when it comes to literal fire and people that do like a fire starter and starting up issues for no reason. And no one likes a bad fire kind of thing. And so what I've done here is I've used some of my old pieces. Some of them I've reused that I've removed from the stuck position, as I was calling it. That I was saying was for all sorts of meanings. So it could have been for me and lots of people, right? When I get back to that art piece to explain that, there's more to it, right? There's always a lot to things as I'm only going to explain a little bit of this here too, as there's more to it, right? But I'll explain the main bigger things. Right? And then some things you might have been set up and not even notice, which is spiritual, which I believe, and you'll see it later, which is spiritual going, you miss this. But Psalm is there, right? Which is why we have numbers and other things that people talk about when it comes to science. Hey, babies, don't hang out in the window there too close. And so let's get back to this again. Sorry, I'm trying to quickly explain something and make sure it's all sort of in one clip for of what's going on. So what I've done is a reset up with you. So I've talked about the other one, what happens if it did this, and what's spirit going to do, is it going to be related to my feelings? It was an automatic thing. This sort of thing is still like an automatic thing, but I'm more going on this one, just more of my feelings to see what happens. Now when it comes to witchery, another quick thing before I start, I've done certain steps to find out about reversals and trickery, right? So like I said, if someone's out there doing something, so if I did something and then someone wants to set you up, and you can get set up in lots of different ways, they would create an action to try to set you up. Right? So if you had a witch out there and you're getting reverse outcomes, and you knew that, and they put a spell on you, like the speller Chip talks about, right? So everything you want is reversed. But if you got onto it, they'll eventually realise that you'll start to get your power back. And so if you're doing reverse signals that look like you hurt yourself, but you're actually starting to fix yourself because you're in reverse, right? And they see that, they're going to reverse it again all of a sudden. And then you'll all of a sudden be attacking yourself. So if you're ever in a decision like that, what you do is you've got to keep doing the reverse back and free tests, like how the Raptors test the fence in Jurassic Park, right? And find out if it stopped or if what's still going. Right? And so what I'm doing now is before I did a reverse factor of more of what I wouldn't want to happen, right, with my thoughts, what I talked about last time, and to see what was out there. Right? It's a different thing. This one here is back to what I believe, what I'd like to see happen again if the reverse stopped, right? Suddenly stopped. And so I'm trying again to see if the reverse is still happening or not. And I don't want to continue to do any bad actions. So I've got to switch and swap before I completely stop, right? Which is what I was talking about earlier about having time off. If you keep getting attacked and having a stuck situation, you're best to have time off for a while so you can figure out something else or go another direction. And typically, if you can get bullied, to bore out the bullies, to stop them from attacking so much or doing actions at all. Right? Which is why I talk about why I've got to get off, because I could be in that position. Right? So this last one, and I won't be doing much soon, so I'm just talking about this one now. If it's continued outcome, I have to do a change, which is what I just said, stop and move on. Otherwise, I'll be stuck in the same continued outcome. I've already learned enough. I already understand what I do. I just got to get practice it more, to tweak it more, and to learn a bit more if you want to continue that study. And so this is the setup now. So I reset it again, and this is what it means, or what I believe it means, as some people would talk about in stories, that you only got one side of the story, right? When people looked at certain things, as I've already previously put up a clip a little while ago about these two setups, which I just showed on the phone. It has the two setups. And phone's shaking around here a little bit. Unlock it and show you these two setups. One's over there and the other one's here. That's what they are. Now the meaning is, with the tiger, I've talked about that piece, pretty much all the same. It's actually in here for now because it's still in progress, as I want to make a nice piece for Roxy. She's already got the basic of what most creatures get, but already had a little bit more love and remembrance put out, but I want to have more and more of a permanent one. But I may be moving too, so there's no use doing too much. As soon as I knew that the thoughts of I might be moving, which has been a little while now. So I brought it in. A lot of things have been brought in, as when it comes to guarding your area, right? You always, and same with religion, they would hide their treasures and stuff like that. They all do similar steps. You're best to do that. You don't want to go too stupid and go leave it out there. You can do that with certain things to find out if you're protected or not, but you never put all your eggs in one basket. Right? And so I've left some things out, but I've also brought in a lot just in case when you're under attack. Right? And I brought it in and sat it here and to help me remind me of certain things and what I've still got to do and stuff like that. So I've either put it away or I've left it out certain times since it's got made but then got decided to stop because the decision got more likely to head another direction. Right? So that's it there. That's representing pretty much me and the moon, the night and certain things, and connection with Roxy and the animals and the planet and Roxy to the universe and all that kind of stuff, right? Which is a loved one of mine. And so that's it there. And it also represents a lot of things that I do and how I do it and all that kind of stuff. There's more to it, but that's just a quick one there. Then I've got my lights, same things, what we put around represents what we believe we like or we want to see or what we want to become. Stella's bit hot today. I've made up this memorial here, talked about a few things, all positive about the things, getting hungry and the outcomes when it comes to the sharks and other things as well. Shark meaning means for me, I'll tell you a little bit more, but it's mainly for the good, for the whole, for the positive. It's the best way to put things. Connections to the earth and moon, right? Peace. And then the bracelets, I've taken some time off to take them off for a while. I usually wear them 24/7. Done it for a long time. Can do it for a year straight, no others. You get used to it. Your skin heals pretty quick when it comes to dents and stuff like that. A piece I made up earlier, the butterfly piece. So I've talked about just sitting up on top of the tiger throne. Tiger, if you want to know what the tiger throne is pretty much about, you look at the positive side when it comes to spiritual tiger meaning. So how we quickly run down pretty much why I use that. I have the multicolours as in the connection of the multiness balance, right? That's why I picked multicolours. I thought it was good. I had a little while back which way I wanted to go. I've been through colours for a lot of my life. It's been particularly black because it's a neutral thing. Don't see stains and all these things. I've kept things pretty basic in certain areas. But I've decided to go more multicolour and black and white in certain other areas and mixing them instead of too much black. The piece on here means peace on weapons, last resort. That actually I was going to give to the police. They can't have any gifts from us. So I kept it for myself, as there was nothing bad to it, and I'll wear it myself too. Definitely if I feel there's negative a lot around, I like to put it on like a good luck charm. And so this here represents new burn, new growth. Right? It's a torch. Right? And I put that in and hoping and praying that I get a good outcome when it comes to tanning, right? And myself and other things as well. But I've been talking about tanning, so I'll put mainly into that bracket for you, as this piece will be made a bit about tanning because it's at the time where tanning went, and also about me and the connection, and the moment. And that's what I do with lots of other pieces. They might change too because it's got me in the moment and the time as well in it. I've had it, including some things look cheap because I was poor, right? But it was the best and the knowing of what I knew at that time and what I was capable of doing, as I could have been busy in other things. Right? That's why we put more effort into other areas and then other areas. Right? And I was also relearning, repracticing. When it comes to art, and you don't want to spend too much money on that. And I was already into recycling, so it was an easy little fit to where I need to start and what I was meant to use, because you can use any type of materials. I can use any materials. I can draw art, I can paint art, which is like drawing. I prefer to do more other things than others, right? And I like to have 3D more than painting, which is why I went to more different fields of my life. But I've tried them all and could succeed like most people could in those fields, and was usually pretty quick at it. when I practice those fields. So I can be a good painter, I can be good this and good that. But I decided to go somewhere else and just go, oh, no, enough of that. If I need to, if I need to go back on it, I can, and it needs to be better, I could. It wouldn't take too much longer to re-practice it. And so I've made this, which I've talked about already before, that connection to the earth and all that kind of stuff. It can go different ways on how this can be. It could be growth, it could be burn, it could be all sorts of things. It's like it's opened up to which direction it needs to go, which direction will it feel, which direction do I feel it needs to be at a certain time when a certain time comes, which is what I talked about. And I put a time on it, a wait time, as I'm hoping, right? And so that's into the piece. So hopefully it's a good hope piece, not a bad hope piece story. But it'll still be a story of life, right? Of my life and what I've been going through, which is what I've been talking about. Hey, Babbers. And Babbers miss Babby too. Right? And one little accident like leaving the gate open, eh? Right? When it comes to the pool ad, if you've got a kid and that, certain things you can't not do. And I know more likely accidents happen when we're under stress, so best society's a less stressful society, isn't it? So less accidents happen, so that's always go up higher because we'll solve a lot of things down here when it comes to a lot of stresses and fuck you Fauci kind of thing. So that's pretty much what that is. I put on the also representing connecting to the Bible, trying to still into I like a lot of things in the Bible, how I can translate it, and so I'm going to still study certain areas of that religion, right? As I find I can get something out of it, and it helps me, and it can also perhaps help others at the same time as there's also trying to learn and understand and get to the right position when it comes to those areas as well. And we're in the time of best connection, things to help us quicker to go through those areas, computers and stuff like that. And so I thought talking about it would help. Certain fields I've talked about mainly is for everybody, so I guess if they steal it, I guess it's a good outcome for everyone. But what I hate is when things get stolen and twisted, where they use the best to get the people what they want, and then they behind the scenes use the bad as they've got to do the actions. And I hate that. Twisters of good information. And I hate when the devil gets a hold of that. That's why also pulling up in certain areas. I don't put out too much, at least make it work or not get the right information, which is what a lot of religions are having trouble with why the Bible was made in a certain way too, which I've already talked about. But I believe if you get it right, you'll get heaven kind of thing, isn't it? That's what it's pretty much saying. And you get the collective to get the whole thing right, and the most case, just like a government. You get close to heaven. It's pretty much what the Bible is trying to tell us. It says, wise, keep studying it. And it talks about certain stories of times of test and tribulations that we've failed, like I'm talking about now. Right? And how we've got the devils actually up and up things that I can see, trying to quickly deceive us to ruin us before we have a revelation and see it. So we either do or we don't. Right? It's pretty scary kind of moments, and we have these moments all the time. People think it's always the end of the world, like in a movie. Sometimes it could be because we get it right, or we don't let it go too far. Right? And anyway, it's up to us, isn't it? That's what the Bible says in the end. Really, it's our freedom, our choice. Gifts out there, ways, bad apples, and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, so that's what that is. And so I put my connection to more to spirit, but it's still there, kind of thing. I think I'll leave it at that. I think I've translated enough there without giving out every single detail. As we like to keep things to ourselves as well. That's why I like to talk about feelings. As if you know me, you might know my feelings a little bit, but you don't know everyone's feelings. And then what I've got there, plus the feeling of that connection, add on to it. As I go to your little talk about connection, right, and how I feel, and it's showing it, but then how do I feel? How do I really feel? You know how sometimes when you have a dream, you watch a movie, you think you're going to see that movie. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Right? Sometimes it's a totally different dream than what you've been seeing recently. That's where the dreams, where some people say in spiritual land, that it could be real. There's a thing there. It could be a future thing, because those dreams also is what people talk about when it comes to having premonitions and future outcomes in dreams. Or ideas, connections and stuff like that. Two areas that can tap in, which would be the spiritual world, would be in dreams, wouldn't it? And so this piece over here, I was just playing around with the thing today. Not in use, but this thing represents an army, hopefully, because I've noticed certain areas are getting attacked, perhaps they need to, but if they don't, and it is witchery, right, or it needs help, I've made this, right, to combat that with the prayers against the witchery kind of thing, you know what I mean? Quickly run you down. And so I've reset up this setup here. Now put the love heart set broken off the bullets, which can be another setup later I'm hoping to do, where they're back on there and it's upside down. And that means we're more at neutral or at peace, right? And head in that direction. But I don't believe we're near there yet as per a collective. And so what I've done now, I was going to do that too, but then I kept getting attacked in certain things and the reverse factor and all these other things. Every time I did something good, something bad was happening, so I stopped. And I've been doing backwards and forwards, trying to test that area out. I've been sort of getting answers too, but it takes a while and you got to know it yourself. And so what I've done is I've set up this now, put the roses up, put my heart at the back there, of our feelings and our heart, right? In with all the love, connection, what I've been talking about recently as well. And then at the front here, I've got an army to try to help protect religion, life, the sun, growth, all that kind of stuff, against the bad guys. And in this case here, I've had 3 little spiders that I've talked about. They're being de-headed, which means no head, but in a way, it's like, where's your head at? It's confusion. It's relearning. They may be relearning, figuring out things. They're on the phone like Hitler, maybe. Those clips, he's listening to people talk, people's conversation. He's like, what the fuck? Right? That kind of thing. And they're now engaged. It's engaging. Right? I want it to engage. That's what I'm hoping and praying. Right? Get the right area where the people are on the right side and not the wrong side. And the bad guys are confused, not the good guys. Right? Because there's been this thing. But that's what I'm hoping. But now I speak about it and then I'll find out where we're at. You know what I mean? And what's not still happening or what is still happening. And so I've done that. And that's pretty much all I need to talk about, I think, on this without talking too much where there's a little extra to it. Right? And that represents not only them, but mainly me is what I want. Right? If I don't see something happening for me, then I know that I've got to keep doing something else. That the attacks are continuing. As it mentions in the Bible, and they will for a long time. So in the Bible, usually it talks about you got to wait for God to turn up, either in another form and something like that. Other people to wake up, which is what I call collective connection. But so far in my connection of how I've spread it, I haven't hooked it up to another person like me or brave enough to be like me. As soon as that happens, I would know about it, wouldn't I? But I haven't yet. It's all about other people's feelings at the moment. So I've got people around me and we're mainly in that factor. And if I talk about things too much, definitely on the attacks and strange things and people don't understand, I become the bad guy. Anyway, so that's why I'm going more neutral in that area, because then you become less the bad guy, trying to explain things or to change people when they don't know the whole full story. And perhaps you don't either. So you're best to back off. So that's what I've done. So let me know what you think in comments. And let's see what it'll do for me and perhaps my information for you. And if I do something for you, what will you do for me? You know what I mean? And that's what connection is. I'll see you later. And we all understand that first you do something, you get something done, you know it's happening, and then that's when you go help others. When you thrive from others, you help others. And it becomes a good balance. But if you just take from others, eventually, which is I've talked about the take society, it collapses. If you all become takers, it's bound to collapse. Right? I'll see you later.